Khoi, who they found collecting honey from a growing bush. This is one of the earliest recorded European confrontation with the indigenous honey people. During those days, sailors suffered from scurvy and other foreign diseases, and it was believed that the honey was the cure. Many indigenous bee farming communities and their skills have also become defunct since contact with the European, and modern bee farming continues to make profits. In 1713, the first grazing rights were granted to the settler, and the first actual farm in Mossel Bay was designated. Large herds, making up thousands of elephants, roamed the Outeniqua-Tsitsikamma forest when contact with the European drove them to extinction. Outeniqua was a Dutch colony until 1795, when Swellendam settlers declared it a republic. The republic lasted only 1 year until the British took over the Cape. These clashes between Europeans and Aboriginals would continue for centuries as word got out where the syrup of the gods were found, and more ships traveled around the Cape on its way to the east. On 7 April 1654, entries in Jan van Riebeeck's journal speaks of the need for the sweet substance made by bees. On 8 April and 12 January 1956 and 1659, similar entries speak of a greater agency in acquiring the sweet nectar. The Outeniqua took great risks reaching the honey on the cliffs of the Heuningberg and surrounds. The gathering of honey in skin containers, which was very unpopular with the newly arrived invader, forced them to spy on the honey people in order to access this honey by themselves. Without the flexibility, bee language, and dexterity, the invader settlers' methods were employed, causing a loss of income for the locals and a rapid reduction in bees of the forest. For just over a year after the invader settlers' arrival, the Aborigine people traded with the settler, after which the Outeniqua and the broader Khoi community refused, as their freedom of movement was impeded by the invasion of their land. The aroma of honey from the Outeniqua bee is strong, but not sweet, light and a little waxy, with fresh acidity aftertaste. The Outeniqua honey was acquired from hollow trees, the ground, rocks and crevices of mountains where the bees make their hives. When it rains, the honey water mixture would drip down, ferments, and were caught by the owner of the hive, and it would be ready for consumption. The indigenous name for this mixture is Yenankari. Yenankari is an indigenous method of beer making, and this method ensures respect for the bees, their important role in feeding humans, and the original potency of honey as a medicine and its alcoholic content without human interference. Nowadays, honey is commercially produced. The invader settler deceptively call their high-speed production carry, perhaps to show some link or empathy to pre-colonial brewing, or just to erase the Outeniqua Khoi even further. However, no beer brewed in a brewery can ever pass as Yenankari. Yenankari cannot be culturally appropriated by capitalists as its potency depends on an age-old process of the indigenous relationship with nature that has never been comprehended or appreciated by a European. It is a drink that encompasses indigenous history, passion, and symbolism in an indigenous way, using rain, trees, bees, and a natural fermentation process. Honey curry is made exclusively by bees. It is reported that South Africans consume approximately 4,000 tons of this liquid gold annually. Honey on toast, honey in cosmetics, honey in tea is a pleasure afforded only to the invader settler. South Africa now produces 4,000 tons and have 3.2 billion rand honey industry, with nothing benefiting the Outeniqua Khoi, the keeper of the knowledge that our survival depends upon. Most African people only become aware of honey in their adult years. Personally, I've only encountered honey in supermarkets until late last year when, while picking buchu with a friend in the Outeniqua Mountains last year, I was almost killed by traffic as I fled when he unexpectedly stuck his bare hands into a tree and pulled out large chunks of honey. The bees simply ignored him, did not get angry or swarm, as he simply stood there taking more while cursing me for acting like a wimp. That was the freshest, nicest honey I have ever had. I realized that indigenous bees, after thousands of years of homemade product, are traumatized by European and foreign methods, which could be a contributor to their imminent extinction. My observations, once I recovered, was that the Outeniqua has a special language, smell, and connection with the honeybee. They recognize each other as unthreatening and empathetic to the survival of one another, and that I simply do not have that connection with bees. I also realized that if I was to ever engage with bees, I would have to wear a white beekeeper's suit, as the honeybees, just as they cannot recognize invader settlers, they cannot recognize me, as I don't share a history with them. Globally, bee populations are declining at an alarming rate due to intensive farming and excessive use of agricultural chemicals. The decline threatens plants, human well-being, and livelihoods. If the decline of pollinators that include butterflies continues, the production of vegetables, fruits, and nuts will cease to exist, and food security will become a much bigger problem than it is today. Kai gangangs for your time. Cape of Storms, Table Bay, Falls Bay, Cape of Good Hope, Settler, it was not yours to take. I am Akakwa, and I was born extinct.